Okay, it's now 5 minutes to 3 and I've been allowed to start the session. Everybody has arrived, including the authors that I will reference in a little while. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you all for this session on women's football. And it's a pleasure for me to tell you that there will be 3 presenters. The second one is Norio Sasaki, the head coach of the national team of Japan. The third one is Kelly McCallum, who's working with the Japanese Rugby Union and is a former national player in rugby for Canada. I have myself the first presentation, and that will cover the aspects of the physiology of women's football. And the main issues is match performance. It's also the physiological demands determined by physiological measurements like heart rate, like blood lactate, but also muscle metabolites. It also covers fatigue, both in relation to the amount of high intensity running and sprint during a game, but also fitness testing before and after a game to see whether there's really occurring what we would call fatigue in physiological terms. Then we will cover the aspects of training. How important is training? How much can performance be improved? And also the aspects of testing, which tests to perform, which tests are football specific. And the last issue is that I would like to show recent results on our work with Football for Health and compare the fitness status and health status of elite female football players with age-matched untrained. And we will cover many different elite athletes, American, Chinese, Danish. We will look at different tests, including the yo-yo test. We will also look at the physiology in terms of sampling blood and sampling muscle tissue. And we will of course also look at the game, analyzed by video films and GPS measurements and other advanced methods. And as I said, we will also look at the health effects of women's football, including VO2 max testing, echocardiography, and also DEXA scans, blood pressure measurements, in order to understand the potential benefits of female football. Let's start by looking at the activity profile in women's football. It's well known that football is highly intermittent. There is 1,400 activity changes during a game, occurring each 4 seconds during a game. And we have a lot of low-intensity activities, as you can see here. But we also have sprints, high-speed runs, moderate-speed runs in women's football between 100 and 250 high-intensity runs per game. And also a lot of backwards running. And as you can see in the next graph, the duration of each activity is very low. It is brief, intense exercise with an average of 2 seconds per high-intensity run. And from this figure, you can also see that there's a big variation between players. You can see that one player has 8 sprints and another player has 40 sprints during a game. We will come back to that. If we look at the total distance covered for women football players and compare different competitive levels and also compare with male players, we can see that the total distance covered is around 10 kilometers and pretty similar between different levels and also between females and males. However, in terms of high intensity running, defined as speeds above 15 kilometers per hour, we see big changes, big differences between high-level female players and top-class female players. And also that the males perform much more high-intensity running than the females. If we look at the playing positions, we also see some differences. You can see that midfielders and attackers in this study perform more high-intensity running than the defenders. Especially the central defenders are performing much less high-intensity running. And what about the influence of the competitive level? Yes, we can see that if we compare top-class players from America, from Sweden, Denmark, with lower-level players, we can see that they perform less walking, less jogging, less low-intensity activity at the highest level, but instead they perform more high-intensity running. More sprints, more high-speed runs, more moderate speed runs. And that's what needed at the high level. And as you can see from the second figure, the duration of each activity is very similar between levels. So the difference is that the high-level players perform more sprints and more high-speed runs. And if we look at the progress over the duration of the game, a dramatic decrease in high-intensity running occurs. And that is the case both at the top level and at a high level. And as you can see, the amount of high-intensity running for a top-class player is 325 meters in the first 15 minutes, and it drops down to 200 meters at the end of the game. And many games are decided in that period. Many important goals are scored in the last 15 minutes. So we wonder why that little high-intensity running is performed towards the end of the game. One explanation is tactics. Another explanation is fatigue. And we have also looked at the differences between different types of games for the same player. So that for Danish and Swedish players playing in the domestic league, where the level is slightly lower than during international games, national team games, Europe Cup games, Champions League games. And that's very interesting to look at the same player performing at two different standards of play. And this is what happens. That the Danish and Swedish players perform more high-intensity running in the international games during the first 60 minutes, whereafter fatigue occurs to a great extent, and there's no differences in the amount of high-intensity running performed in the last 30 minutes. And this makes the coach think, how can we prepare those players better for international games? Because the Danish players are pretty good in the Danish league, but they're not always performing that well internationally. And often we have problems in the last 30 minutes. And if we look at individual players, we can see that for some players it's almost a catastrophe. Player 1, 2 and 3 perform very well over the first 45 minutes. Then player 1, it's a midfielder, performs very poorly in terms of high intensity running in the first 15 minutes of the second half, and also in the last 15 minutes. We may have to substitute her after 45 minutes with this very poor performance. Other players perform very well for 75 minutes, whereafter very little high intensity running is performed. And then the coaches and the players, they always tell us, yeah, it was because we didn't need to sprint. It was not necessary. But when we look at games, decisive games, in the Euro Cup, in the World Cup, where the team really needs another goal to go through to the semi-final or even the final, we can see that some players are not performing that well towards the end of the game. We even had one player that didn't do any single sprint for the last 15 minutes in a decisive game. And that's probably due to fatigue. But to get closer to this, we need to test whether they can actually perform as well after the game compared to before the game. And that can only be done by testing of the players with sprint tests, jump tests, intermittent running tests, performed immediately after compared to immediately before the game. And we have done that as well. And in this case, we tested a Danish team in a rested condition, in a recovered condition during training, and also immediately after a decisive game in the Danish league. This was done by the Yo-Yo Intermittent Endurance Level 2 test, and as you can see, some players performed really well in the rested state, but basically all of them performed really poor after the game. And this is not due to the fact that they were not motivated or that they didn't achieve exhaustion. Because Magni Moore and I, we screamed and shouted at the players after this particular game. And we also looked at their heart rate, and we saw that they reached peak heart rate during the test performed after the game. So this is really a clear sign of fatigue. And even the one player, a national team player, that performed extraordinarily well before the game, she performed very poorly because she had to work really hard in this team, and she was fatigued as well. And this is important. The intermittent exercise ability is very important because you have to do so many sprints, so many high-intensity activities every single minute of a football game. And therefore, it's very important to have this ability to perform high intensity and to recover, to perform high intensity again. We have also tested jump performance, and in one study we didn't see a change before and after the game in jump performance, just a single jump, whereas in another study it was observed that the jump performance decreased 3–4% immediately after the game, and actually that it was still lowered several days after the game. And when we do repeated jumps, the changes are even greater because the repeated exercise ability is deteriorated markedly during a football game. And that has also been observed for many players. If you do 15 maximal jumps immediately after the game, you have decrements in performance of 5–8%.